Look at the Lakers. Austin Reeves, 4 years of college, ready to play. Dalton Knecht, actually 5 years of college. Last night, 37 points, rookie record, ties at 9 threes. Unbelievable. And LeBron loves him. Why? Because LeBron didn't like the Lonzo Ball. He didn't like the immature guys. He's not a babysitter. LeBron wants you to be able to play. He's got things he's trying to attain. Get out of his way unless you can come in and play. And we saw this last season again with the Miami Heat. Jaime Jaquez Jr., ready to play. Zach Edey, 4 years at Purdue, ready to play. Maturity is undervalued. The new CBA is going to make trades harder. That's why we have a term, Villanova guys, because Jay Wright demanded you play defense. You stayed in school. You had to go to class. You had to grow up. You had to play well with others on campus. The G League does not create all these stars. Derek White of the Celtics is another guy. Had to go D2. Then he transferred to Boulder. Then he has to go to a couple different NBA teams. He's okay being a 4 or a 5. He's one of the best number 4s I can ever remember in the league. Kind of like a Rick Fox, where you're like, that guy could be a 2 on some teams. He's a 4 or a 5 sometimes on the Celtics. Don't babysit and coddle. The NBA does too much of it. It's always getting this prospect because he's got great handles. He's 18. You think LeBron and AD and Giannis want to play with 18 and 19-year-olds?
Right. So let's talk about this, because I think what Colin is saying, there's a lot of what he's saying that I think is really on point, but I think he's also missing something in terms of a compliment of connecting what the Lakers are doing. The big thing is it's not only age. We can't just look at age, right? It's also a level of maturity, really more than anything, quite frankly. But the benefit also is, which is really smart, which is what I really like about Connect, is also his length, his height. Everybody thinks that they're going to be able to find someone similar to a Steph Curry. And the reality is historically, we know that for basketball players in the NBA to consistently take over games, seasons, teams, right? Like however we want to define it, consistently, on average, we see these guys being like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", maybe. You don't see guys that are too tall. Obviously, there's always exceptions to this, right? You're going to have some smaller guys, the Steph Currys, the Allen Iversons of the world, and you're going to have some really huge guys that are like, obviously, monsters, the Shaqs of the world. But we know that it's not automatic with those guys on the edges, right? For the really tall and the really small, that you have to be exceptionally special. You don't have to be as special to be able to take over if you are like 6'7", 6'8". It's like kind of like this ideal height. You're gonna have more 6'7", 6'8" players that can take over than the other ones. And so there was, in this draft especially, there was a few guys like who the Sixers got and stuff, who are like 6'2", 6'3", depending on where you're reading it. It's like, yeah, those players can be special too. Don't get me wrong, and they can have great handle, shoot great threes, all of that. There is the question of the defensive liability. Like, think about it. If Steph was just like 10% worse than what he is, which would still be exceptional, right? It would still be like a Hall of Fame career. He would be a legitimate liability. Like, that is where you fall into the thing of like, okay, you're closer to like a James Harden, right? You're closer to a Damian Lillard, which again are still special and exceptional players, but they can't take over reliably and consistently like a Steph can, because Steph Curry is truly that next level special. So the benefit of having someone like a Connect is that he doesn't have to be legendary. He can be great. He can be an awesome player. He could be like a Klay Thompson, and that is a grand slam. Obviously, if he's better than that, and I'm saying Klay Thompson not in terms of his game, but just in terms of like his level of excellence. That would be a grand slam, because now he will be able to become a great defensive player, can rebound, right? Like, he can do so much more than outside of just putting up points. But when it is time for him to take over a game and get buckets, you know he can. And come time playoffs, like that is the other thing that people keep missing for whatever reason. Playoffs, it gets more physical, it gets tighter, bigger bodies matter. It's why we see some of those other smaller players not be able to excel. Steph Curry, again, is the exception to that, but even as he gets a little bit older, it becomes harder and harder and harder. And again, comparing players to Steph Curry, it's a losing battle because he's so unique, and his ability to shoot threes is obviously so next level insane. So it's not hard to imagine and bet that someone like a Knecht is going to be more efficient and last longer in the NBA and be more versatile. And when games get really tight and physical and hard and just more brutal, someone like a Knecht will be able to more likely thrive than some of these other smaller 6'2" guys. Not to mention, again, some of these guys who are 6'3" or under, when their shooting is on, it's great. And they're so fast and they can be elusive. But when their shooting is cold, it's a lot harder for them just to be like, all right, I just need to get some buckets now. I need to just drive through the lane, get to the get to the rim, do what I need to do. Or you know what, my shot's not falling, I can help out on defense now. Like, again, it's very rare when that happens with some of these smaller guys. And so he has that ability, which I think, for whatever reason, it just continues to be like underappreciated in the NBA and under discussed. And I don't really fully understand why, quite honestly. If you have two players that are very similar and you think like, you know what, their peak is like 90% and this other guy's peak is maybe like 85%, but the 85% is 6'6" and the 90% is 6'2", I'm taking the 6'6" guy every time. I just am. It just seems more safer, more reliable. You have a greater chance of reaching that 85% potential than reaching the 90% potential. If you guys can follow that example, I got a little mathematical on you. It's just the way I see it, and I think evidence would suggest that as well. And again, I know I'm already like, anticipating the comments of people being like, well, how about this? How about this guy? How about this guy? And it's like, there's always exceptions. This isn't like an all or nothing type thing. It's really not. But also you have someone who's 23, right? I think he's 23. You're already now closer to your prime, your physical prime, your emotional prime. We know basketball players are typically going to be special. They don't really step up until they are like 25, 26, 27. That's why all these stars typically aren't winning championships until they are like 25, 26, 27, 28. So you get closer to that. You don't have to waste your time with someone who's like 20 years old. Because it's like we have plenty of players where you're like, okay, they're really good. Wow, they've already been in the league for 3 years. And then you have to remind yourself, well, yeah, they've been here since they were like 20. It's going to take time for them to mature, grow, become a leader. Like there's still so much maturing both on and off the court that needs to take place. And another perfect example of this is honestly really like Luka in terms of his body, his size. I think emotionally is where actually, and his leadership is where he lacks more than anything. But in terms of his body, his height, his size, it's like, who would you rather have, him or someone who's going to be like 6'2", 6'3", right? Like who can take over a game more consistently? When it comes down to it, who can you really trust and rely on? Kyrie Irving or Luka? And again, I don't mean mentally. I mean like physical body. We know it's going to be Luka. Luka's biggest problem with Luka is that he hasn't matured and he hasn't become a leader. Like that's what hurts him more than anything. It's not his physicality. Whereas we have other basketball players who are super mature, ready to go, but their physicality, it stops them. It inhibits them to be able to consistently take over. And also the smaller guys get hurt more regularly. Colin said that about Ja Morant years ago, and people ripped him. I think even Ja Morant came out and on one of the somewhere on social media was like, I think he just wrote, "Oh, Colin," or whatever, and it ended up being accurate. The dude's been hurt now multiple times. Like when you're a smaller guy, the NBA is really physical. Players are always getting stronger, bigger, and faster. So again, if you can get a bigger bodied guy, you're also now protecting yourself from injuries as well. So definitely pretty cool to see for the Lakers and Knecht. And it's going to be interesting to see how this team continues to grow and evolve and age. And, this does also feel like a little like Austin Reeves, because LeBron came out and said, I always knew this guy was going to be special. I knew this guy was going to be special. It's like, okay. He said the same thing about Austin Reeves, and now he's like kind of like cold on him. Like, it's just, you know, kind of more of the, we can add it to the list of LeBron's lies, where he's like, yeah, I watched him all the time. I knew he was still going to be something special. And it's like, and it's funny to see people try to buy into that, honestly. I think actually it's in this clip. Hold on, let me see if I can just cue it up.
I thought it would be impossible.
Here.
After the game, I've been telling you guys for 2 years, this kid's the real deal.
I've been said it. I watched him. I watched Tennessee a lot. I did not think he was going to fall to us. I thought it would be impossible. I have no idea how that happened, but very grateful and very happy that he's here. I knew exactly what we was getting when he fell to 17.
Sure.
LeBron, I knew exactly what I was getting. I'd watched his game for years. Lakers.
It's so funny that Colin believes it too. I mean, he's made those statements before so many times. LeBron is not watching that. LeBron is the busiest man in the world, okay? He's not sitting on the couch watching college basketball right now. He's just not, okay? The dude is so insanely busy, okay? Average Joes who work 9 to 5s, okay, don't have time to watch, you know, especially people with families and stuff like that, don't have time to watch college basketball. Now you're talking about LeBron James, who's got an NBA schedule, media, world famous, traveling all over the world, multiple children, and you think the dude's just out there watching college basketball? I'm sure. Okay, I'm sure. Okay. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about what the Lakers are doing? Connect. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.